Contagious Leadership Podcast. It is episode 61, and today we have a special guest, Jeremy Bergh. So I'm excited to introduce him to you guys. Lorianne will be right back once her router finishes rebooting. But here's the thing that I'm really pumped about. We spend a lot of time talking about entrepreneurship. We talk a lot about how small business owners and all the different folks that are creating right now can be better within the leadership aspect. But guess what? There are tons of unsung heroes out there who are creating, developing, spending lots of energy, time, and money and resources into becoming better leaders, growing teams, and they're called intrapreneurs. And that's what I'm excited about today, is introducing one to you. And we're going to get into his story in just a few seconds. Donnie, go ahead and roll the clip. I'll be back in 30 and introduce Jeremy to you. All right, Jeremy, welcome to the show.
Thank you for having me, Rigo.
Absolutely. So a little round of applause from our studio audience.
Wow. A lot more people here than I expected.
Yeah. Oh, the power of technology. So anyway, so as we wait for Lorianne to come back on, I was really excited when she introduced us. You guys have a history. I'm going to let her go ahead and take that little segment there as you guys share a little bit with our audience. But I'm really excited about this concept of intrapreneurship. And, you know, I thought about this quite a bit. And if it wasn't for the opportunities that I had working within corporate America, working in these different organizations and companies, I would have never been able to learn the things, learn the skills, and really have the opportunities to continue to grow as a leader in my own field to eventually move out and become a small business owner. Now, I don't think small businesses are for everybody. And the word entrepreneur, I think, has really been thrown around as more of a popular word. It's become a hip word. And I think we've really forgotten about the work that is required to get here. And I think your story really represents that. So if you can, Jeremy, share a little bit about your story with us, and let's share it with our audience.
Sure. Well, thank you for the intro. I appreciate it, and for giving me the time here to talk to you and your audience. Share a little bit about myself. So, I mean, I've been. How far back do you want me to start here, Rigo? I mean, I guess I'll start with. My parents are some of the hardest workers I've ever known. My father's a super hard worker. He's a general contractor, painter, still to this day, over 80 years old, still out there painting houses and decks and things like that. He's nuts. But so I think it definitely helped me and motivate me to, I think in two ways: to see his work ethic and to emulate that in some way. But I also learned what not to do in terms of, he was never really great with money, right? He always worked hard, but had to work hard in order to, work every hour to make money for himself. And I always thought that if I was smart and I played my cards right, I could use my brains to maybe go beyond that a little bit and be able to earn more than what I can provide each hour. So I took that, played college basketball, which I think sports has taught me a lot about work ethic and getting along as a team and helping to build things, and had a lot of great leaders growing up there. And then after school, was going to go into computer graphics because I was good at that stuff, and almost went to ESPN, but they were on a hiring freeze at the time after I got out of school. So my friends always said I was good at sales or good with people, so I should go into sales. And I started with a company called Horizon Foods, selling gourmet foods door to door, business to business. I mean, one of the purest forms of sales you can get, I guess. 100%.
You know, sorry, Donnie.
Yeah, no.
One of the things, no, that my hand slipped and I'm messing up Donnie's production. One of the things I think is really actually quite interesting is the amount of experience you get when you are doing door to door, literal door to door sales, right? There is something to be said about that. There's a lot of sales roles and sales positions out there that will teach you, it'll either break you or make you. That is absolutely for sure. And those are those types of jobs that you're going to know really quickly whether you're going to cut it or not. And, you know, you were getting into the story, you were getting into aspects of sports. And, you know, it's really quite interesting what a good coach, what a good program can actually do for young people. I know for myself, that was a big part of my life. I had a very dysfunctional upbringing. So the sports allowed me an outlet, right? It allowed me an outlet, but more importantly, it taught me how to lose, right? It taught me how to lose.
Yeah. Lose with class, right? And not throw a fit.
Yes, that's exactly right, because you can do it. You can do it the bad way too. But one of the things that I really loved about your background was, as I looked at your resume, so to speak, I looked at your history, Jeremy. In each of the places that you worked, you grew rapidly. Okay, so you moved up the chain very quickly. You would change careers, and then you would move up again. And so in the current position that you were in, you started off in a sales role, and within a few years, you're now the president of North America within this organization today. Tell us a little bit about that company and what you do. And then I wanna ask you a couple questions about that.
Yeah, sure. So, I mean, I was it's grateful to be in this position. I did start in a sales role, and we did my mentor who basically brought me into this industry and helped coach me. Ended up moving back to Germany, where our headquarters is, and becoming the CEO. And so we did a bit of a reorg there. And initially, I did not have any interest in moving toward the management role because I enjoyed the sales part of things. But the initial reorg wasn't a great fit for us. And so even though initially I said no to the management side, when we had to do a reorg again, I decided, you know, why not? I mean, I'm at the top of where I could be on the sales side of things. I can't guarantee I'm going to be any good at this, but I can guarantee I'll work hard at it. And I think overall it's been a good fit, and that's helped to drive me up toward where I am now. You know, I think part of it is I always try and focus on what's best for the business, and I think the leaders have seen that. I think that's one of the reasons why. It was some advice I got, you know, back in the day, that don't just focus on yourself, focus on what kind of value you can bring for the company and for the industry. And that has, you know, I think that resonates with the leadership and has helped to drive me forward.
And so that's what I want to talk about, because, you know, when you become a leader, right? Leaders cannot be in a position very long, and they can't be there successfully if the team is not behind them. They have to have people that are believing in their goal, right? Like we have to understand how to inspire not only ourselves, but how to inspire others to rally around that vision that we have. And I think a lot of times this is overlooked. And there are some incredible intrapreneurs out there in the world that have done amazing things with organizations. You know, there's so many different examples, but, you know, we see a lot of faces, right? We know that, like, you look at Disney itself and you look at Walt Disney, but very few people knew that his brother, right, was the guy behind the scenes really making things happen. And the list goes on. You look at Apple, you look at so many others. There are very few, I think, you know, the Elon Musk of the world are they don't come around very often, right?
No, they do not. No, they do not.
You know, as a leader and as somebody that was growing, Tell me about that journey. Like you were working in a sales position, but what sacrifices did you make? You didn't just get chosen, hey, Jeremy, let's put you in a presidential position, right? I want to move you into president of a company because you were good at sales.
Right.
What did you do? What were the things that you said, I want to grow, I want to do more than just be an employee? So tell me about the mindset that was happening with you. What shifts were you making? And did you, as a second part of the question, did you go and make your own choices to do things on your own to grow, right? Or did you wait for the company to push every level of growth on you?
Good question. So I guess in the sales role, it was my responsibility to grow my specific region or territory, right? But I was always never afraid to go out there. I mean, I think from the door-to-door business-to-business thing, never afraid to go out and have conversations with fresh new people, and not just look for what the potential avenue is for my territory, but also helping to expand others, right? I sincerely enjoy other people's successes as well, not just my own. So if I found a route or say a customer venture where they had projects overseas or maybe in a different territory other than mine, I would always explore that with them. And always focused on the customer too, right? Because in the end, it's all down to them. So I would focus on their needs. And if I found that we had a potential solution for them that was outside my realm, I would definitely make the introduction and pass that along. And I think helping to make others successful is how you get yours as well. And the leaders that just focus on how they can succeed and taking all the credit for themselves are the ones that don't have people who follow them for very long.
Isn't that funny? A leader leads and always gives credit and always brings the team with them, right? There's all those little cats, a real leader does this and a real leader does that, and they're cute, but they're true.
Yeah, I mean
that's the thing. They're true.
Cliches, I'm not hating on cliches, man. There's a lot of great sayings and quotes that stick in my mind over the years. Like some of the college and high school coaches used to teach me, like, store with your strengths and work on your weaknesses, right? And that there's so many parallels in terms of athletics and what you can bring to the business world. And I know my weaknesses, and thankfully I'm able to surround myself with others who are strong in that area. And that's how you build a good team.
A lot of times and we know this, if you've built businesses, which you have, and you've done this for enough time, we're never defined when things go well, right? We're really defined when things go wrong. That's really when we're made. Yesterday we had another podcast that went on, and I think we were talking a little bit about it offline. We went through an enormous amount of challenges, and it all happened within hours prior. LinkedIn was acting very weird, didn't even let us go live. We ended up having to send a YouTube link to every single member that was on there, and we had hundreds of people that registered. It was just an enormous amount of chaos. Technically getting our guest in, we've never had that many issues happen at one time. And I'll tell you that a year ago, that would have crushed us. And I was so proud of the team. I was so proud of what Donald did and Anita and everybody stepping up to make it work. I was so incredibly excited and proud of our guests who maintained, knowing that everything was going chaotic. My co-host, who did an amazing job, and he was not expecting to be that guy, but he had to take over while I was working on the back end. And it's interesting because there's a time where that would have really hurt me emotionally. My ego would have been hit. And although I wasn't happy with the result, I was incredibly proud of the result of the team, because in a time like that, we were able to pull through. Now, the one thing that I want to be able to bring out for someone else is give us some moments. And what did you do how did you pull through this? How can we share this right now with another leader who's in a current situation, who's trying to build a team? And as you were stepping in, tell us about some of your failures, Jeremy. What didn't go well, and how did you pull through, and how did you get your team to to go in it. And by the way, welcome, Lorianne. Glad you're here, hon.
Did you start without me?
Yeah, we started without you. Sorry, but I'll tell you what. I don't know if the audience liked it, so I'm sure they're all coming back now.
Yeah, now they're here. So should we start over?
Yeah.
Hey, Jeremy.
Hi, Lorianne.
Hashtag welcome back.
Let's talk about my failures.
Yeah, let's talk about your failures. I love it because I think that's right. That's where we grow.
Yeah, absolutely. And I think, just to step back real quick, the example you just gave, I think it really, cheers to you and your level of maturity to be able to handle that and not go into the state of mind where you're finding the failure points and blaming your team. Yet you figured out a way to focus on what they did get right. And I think that's a testament to your leadership. And I think in terms of failures, I mean, I've had, many over the years. There's lots of balls that I've dropped when I should have been carrying them. I think I try to juggle too many things at once. I think we all do that sometimes. And so I've dropped the ball on certain things. I know that the global supply chain, crisis was a big issue for my company over the past year, for everyone in our industry and many industries, but especially those that deal with electronic components. So there's, it's definitely mentally challenging, and times when you have to shift from trying to sell things actively to just managing and putting out fires, right? Most of the conversations we had with customers were full escalations, up to the top level. And I'm sorry, it seems there's somebody doing construction above me. Hopefully,
oh no, you're fine. Don't worry about it. Listen.
Okay. Hopefully it's not too loud. But
no, we're good. After yesterday.
We're good. Yeah,
we're good. We're good. Yeah.
We just keep rolling with it, Jeremy.
All right, good. All right, good.
That's the beauty of live. Go ahead, Lorianne.
Yeah, but so Jeremy, for our audience and the people who are listening, can you just walk us through, you dropped a ball? Mm-hmm. Because just like you said, I've dropped a number of balls, but what is your thought process, and how do you repair that? Especially if it's a relationship, with a customer, with a significant other, with family.
Mm-hmm.
I've dropped the ball, and it's what's the first thing that you do?
Feel embarrassed. Think about what I should do better next time. But then you have to take accountability, right? You have to step up, and I think the sincerity really helps when you're dealing with customers. Listen, I'm really sorry. This is something that fell through the cracks. I know that this must have been tough for you. Understand their situation, how it related to and how it affected them, and then see what you can do to figure out how to get that back, how to repair it, if there is anything that you can do. So obviously you can't rewind time, but maybe you can, eat some of the expedition fees to get the product there faster, so that it doesn't keep their line down for too long. For example.
Oh, so, I like that. So when you notice okay, I've dropped a ball, do you ever have this discussion with your team, okay, here's what happened? I always say to my clients, we always hear, don't move forward while looking through the rearview mirror. But I actually believe, we should be looking through the rearview mirror so that we don't keep making the same mistakes, over and over again. Or, it's a great way to notice patterns, is there a sort of a glitch in the system, with ordering or something, or somebody in your office? Is there anything that you do with your team?
Yeah, I mean, we'll definitely have a powwow over things and discuss. Well, okay, where did this issue go wrong, right? Is there anything we can make more efficient in our processes so that we can either automate this one part to make to reduce the chances of this happening again in the future? Or is there any task that maybe I'm overloaded in a certain area, and there's other people that have more bandwidth, and maybe this falls within their, maybe it's something that they're better at anyway. So we have adjusted tasks in the past to level the playing field in terms of who's in charge of what, and to try and reduce those errors again for future.
I like that. I like that a lot. And the other thing that I wanted to sort of touch on was the accountability part, where you're right, like to take accountability. But I know you, and I know the kind of person that you are, and I know that you have great relationship building is one of your strong points. And so you having, built some great relationships, I'm sure, with customers. So I'm sure that helps when you have to pick up the phone and say, hey, here's what happened.
True.
Can you speak more on that? Because I think a lot of people would benefit from understanding and really tapping into the power of relationships.
Yeah, I mean, relationships are key. I think maybe this is back from the sales, but never give. One phrase that comes to mind often is never give people a reason not to trust you, right? And I think being sincere with them, figuring out what their needs are. And trying to make things happen so that you're meeting a need for them, tends to build up I don't know, the karma meter, some would say, and you can do that in any relationship, but it goes a long way for customers as well. Personal relationships, customer relationships, you constantly try and build value and do what's right by them. And then it gives you some, I think, leeway for if you do accidentally mess up. You're constantly adding to the bank. So sometimes when you take something away by accident, or there's some leeway there.
Nice, thank you. So, all right, let's move on from the faux pas area into an area that I know that you're really good in, and that is strategy. And I think, and you and I have, we work out, every once in a while, and we like you and I have had some great conversations about, because I'm always asking you, like, so tell me about your interview, and tell me about your team. And so I'm curious, like let's just talk about your strategy for growing your team.
Yeah, it's and thank you for always being there for me to bounce ideas off of. It's excellent working with working out with somebody of your caliber in the morning. So not only are we getting stronger, physically, but mentally as well. So
yeah, we love her too, Jeremy.
But strategy, I don't know. I mean, I always, I think it's always important to try and see things on different levels, right? From the macro to the micro. So you can get lost in the weeds sometimes if the daily tasks and the emails and everything else which is everyone piling tasks onto us, right? That's all email is, and it can overwhelm you and drown a lot of people. But you have to figure out what is feasible, where you can delegate, and step back every once in a while and say, is there something else that you could be focusing your time on that will be better suited to help drive us in the direction that we want to go. So I think it's necessary to zoom in and zoom out as often as you can, because we can get lost in the zoomed in section of everything, of our relationships, of our workflow, of our business. So in order to, I think, really drive things forward as a company, you have to be able to zoom out. I don't know if that answers your question.
Well, I think it does. But again, because I know you, I know that there's so much stuff that you do outside of the office that I know that contributes to your performance, your career success. Because you're listening to podcasts, you're having interesting conversations.
Yeah, and
like you're coaching.
That's what I want to get into right there, Lori. And you brought up some good stuff where you talk about podcasts and everything else. I think sometimes we forget just how valuable these types of things are. And so, like what Lori Ann's getting into, and you were saying, Jeremy, how you pull yourself out. Tell us how you do that. Like, give me what a regular day looks like. You've got a good number of employees, right? Are you okay to share? Would you be willing to share how many employees you manage today?
Actually, in the U.S., we're a fairly small team. We're headquartered in Germany. Here, we have 11 people total. So that
you have 11 in the U.S. and you work with a European team. And how many are part of the organization as a whole?
We have 350 people total. So
okay.
I am involved in so basically I'm in charge of the North American operations and our P&L here and sales and order processing and managing the applications engineering team, everything like that. But I also do have frequent conversations on overall strategy with the owner of the company and our headquarters in Germany.
So you're very intimately involved then, even with a smaller team. I'm assuming there is nobody there that wears one hat.
No, many hats. We all wear many hats, and every day is something new. We're always trying to figure it out. But thankfully, I have a really good team, here that is willing to work hard and help figure out how to move things forward. So
one of the things that I have seen a lot of, and you shared this in your story as you were coming in, very similar, but hardworking parents. Okay, like a lot of us have had that, but broke, hardworking parents, right?
Yep.
So there's something there where we're like, I want to do better, right? But we have to educate ourselves. I want to work hard, but I don't want to kill myself working hard. I like that I can solve problems, but how do I help other people solve problems? And you made a comment in regards to, listen, if I can't help that person, I'm going to bring them to where they can. Talk to me about this. Was this a culture aspect in the organizations you worked for that was already there? Or was this something that you had to help really build within these groups? Because that's not always, it's the right thing to do, but it doesn't always help the bottom line. So talk to me about those cultural aspects of the organization. How did you help develop that and help people see the importance of it?
Good question. I'm trying to pinpoint where I learned that. I think I did it with the food situation as well, because I know, so basically every customer is not your customer, right? You don't have something that can fit everybody's needs.
Wait, what?
And,
Are you saying, Jeremy, are you saying right now that not everybody loves this face right here?
No, there's exceptions, obviously. Yeah.
Okay, all right. I just want to make sure we're clear. We're clear on that.
Maybe I should clarify. I don't have something that can fit everybody's needs.
You're good.
And so, either way, when you talk to some people, you realize at some point or another, right, through the qualification or disqualification process, whether or not the odds are good that you're going to work with them or not, right? If you know that the odds are not good that you're going to work with them, and you understand, maybe if it's a competitor or somebody else, you understand what could help them, why not just give the name out? They're not going to be yours anyway. It helps them save some time and energy in order to figure out their situation. And it builds it adds to that karma bank that I was talking about earlier. It builds a little level of trust that maybe ends up coming back your way at some point or another. There's so many.
I think it all does. That's just me. I think
comes down to the relationships.
Yeah,
again.
I think what goes around comes around. Yeah, I don't think it's a little. I think it does go a long way. It goes a long way, because in building trust, being willing to say, listen, I'm not the right answer. I'm not the right solution for you. It goes a long way, because one day you will. I'll give you an example. We had a new customer start with us yesterday, and it was quite exciting because I've known this gentleman for a few years. Yeah, it came great. But thank you, Don. But one of the things that our business focuses on is organic inbound leads. So I have done sales for a long time, and I love sales. I absolutely love it. And I can be very strategic and kind of pushy, sort of. That's not really my style. I know there's a method to it. I understand the closing process. Like, I know the strategy and how you can do it. I would rather get people to call me. That's just my style. So when I started to learn that there was an actual name for it, right, then that was really exciting for us. And the one thing I found, though, is you have to have an enormous amount of patience.
True.
Because that means that they're not, like, you have to build over time, over a long period of time, the understanding that when they are ready, they're going to come to you. Now, with leadership, I'm finding more and more that there's a lot of similarities in sales. And here's what's really interesting. And I want to ask a lot about this from you, because it's interesting how many things in life align perfectly with what we learn in B2B sales. And you're in B2B sales, correct, Jeremy?
Yes.
And it's interesting when you do that. Right now, I'm not saying that you won't learn these lessons in that B2C. For those of you who don't understand, it's business to consumer or business to business. But in that B2B, You're not always the only solution. And that's the other thing. You may be the best, you may not be. You're going to have to check off a few boxes. Then it comes down to one thing. It's, do they trust that you're the right partner for them?
True. Agreed.
Right? That's what it comes down to. So you have to do your job well, and you're not going to get them all. And so I've realized how much of that transferred over into life. And I always wondered, like, how come I couldn't do it in my life as well as I can do it in business? Like, the lessons were there. Like, I could wait like 3 years, 8 years sometimes for a customer to finally give me their business. But when they did, I didn't have to sell it. It was already sold, right? So in the leadership aspect, with your team members, what I would like to find out is, how do you deal with conflict when you have a team member with such an intimate team? What happens when one of them doesn't agree with your vision?
You know, that's something I definitely need work on. Yeah.
What do you go? Listen, tap it in.
I'm not one to just drive my opinion down other people's throats. So, you know, we extend the conversation, right? We typically make it a longer thing. And I try and get them to sometimes step out and get a broader view, right? Rather than I think some of us and some of my teammates here tend to get stuck in the weeds. So I try and draw them out to the next step. You know, I totally understand what you're talking about here, but let's take a step back. How does that affect the customer? How does that affect the company as a whole? And we have to make sure there's a win here all the way around, not just for one person, right? If us making this change the way you want it, it's good for you, that's cool. But imagine how much work it's going to add to this person or this person. So we have to figure out what makes the most sense, and I think that's been helpful to kind of take that approach.
So
you're also good at having those difficult conversations, Jeremy. You're being a little
better.
like, oh.
I could be better. It's definitely something.
We can all grow. Yeah, I was about to say we could all grow.
I don't. Modest. I think that
True.
Sometimes the way that you word things, I think, is very eloquent. And I know that in the past I've had this opinion that your team is very lucky that they're under your leadership. Because you walk your talk.
Yeah, I'm not afraid of hard work, and I think that helps. I'm not afraid to get in there and get my elbows or roll up my sleeves and get my hands dirty on anything. So I think that goes
door-to-door meat sales, Jeremy.
That's it. Oh man,
Tell you what, man.
Rigo, you and I would have crushed it. We should have been out there together.
Listen, I remember. Oh my goodness.
That's how we met.
Yeah, no, I get it.
Lorian was a customer. I knocked on her door.
That's yeah. If I can just share this for a moment. Yeah. I had a problem that I didn't know that there was a solution to. Okay, and I did. It was true story. This was after my first husband had passed away. I hated going to the fish department at the grocery store, and because they would ask me like, well, how many people are you serving? And I would just go, 2. I would just like I didn't want anyone to know. I just felt it was this awkward. And so Jeremy knocks on my door and it's just like, we have frozen food that's individually wrapped. And I was like, oh my God, the answer to my problem.
Listen, do you find it awkward to order meat at a meat counter? I've got a solution.
That's right.
It's interesting what you learn, right? It is. It's very, very interesting what you learn. My first job in sales at 19, I remember that I needed to shake things up a bit. I was almost 20 at the time, was an account executive manager for a radio station. And I'll never forget this. It was an oldies radio station, KHDR.
Nice.
And KVVQ. And we're talking like an AM radio, like AM oldies, that was the nostalgia, because today's oldies, I don't want to talk about it. Because they're not oldies.
Talk about it.
They're not oldies, but apparently they're now oldies. But anyways, it was very interesting. And here I am knocking on businesses' doors saying, listen, I know what I'm doing and you should spend all this money in advertising. Right. Thank you, Donald. That's not very nice for you to say internally. But what I realized very quickly was there was a lot to learn in this process, right? So we were talking about how do you rally your team? How do you deal with conflict, and how you pull them and separating them out and saying, listen, like, let's look at your point of view. Can you look at this point of view? What I want to know now is how do you rally them when you need to get a sprint? Like, talk to me about how you deal with things strategically with an organization of your size, doing the things you're doing. You're doing really big things with a small group in terms of what you're producing. And you're in a very, very competitive market, How do you get the team to rally around the necessary sprints that you have to do in order to hit numbers when you have to hit them?
Yeah, I mean, sometimes it can be tricky, right? Not everybody is, I guess, numbers based. You can put some KPIs in order and some incentive programs around it, and for some people that works, but not everybody. So you gotta understand your audience, right? Just like the oldies station, when you're trying to find and sell time to people, right? You got to know. You're going to the Cracker Barrel, you're going to insurance companies. Those are the places that are going to get you the time that, the ads that you need.
Donut shops, cigarette shops. There was quite a few. Yes, there was quite a few of those. By the way, this was in Southern California too. So it was
nice.
mighty long time ago. And let's just say I didn't do that very long.
But you have to figure out in any place, right? You have to figure out your audience and what kind of drives them, and see if you can help get on the same page there, right? And if you've built enough in that karma bank, you can maybe pull from it and be like, guys, really, this is something that we need to get done to hit our targets for the year. I don't really put too much burden on. I try not to put too much burden on their shoulders because I take on so much, and try to delegate, some things, but probably not enough.
Yeah, that brings up a good question.
But at some point, you gotta ask them to really step up and help.
Yeah. Well, Jeremy, that leads us right into kind of another question I have: delegation, right?
Yeah.
So listen, I love this, and I'm really, really glad that you're game to this, and I appreciate it. Again, I want to thank you for being here.
Yeah.
And before we get into this, real quick, hey, listen, if you have not already started following us, please do me a favor. If any of what we're bringing you is bringing you value, do me a favor. Get on, follow. You could also join our community by texting. I've got the private chat in the way, and for some reason, I have forgotten how my number works. There it is. There it is. Lunch.
798-805.
Thank you. I have too many monitors going, and I couldn't find the mouse to get the chat out of the way up here where Donnie was talking smack. But yeah, do us a favor. Text lunch to 316-799-8052. That goes right to our community app. Okay, this is not a spam app. I promise you. I hate spam, and half the times I forget to even tell you what's going on, but we really, really want you to join our community here, because this is a great way for us to communicate with you. Let us know let you guys know what's happening, our next guest, ask if there's things that you're interested in. We usually maybe text once, maybe twice a week. I promise you, we don't even know your number. So everything is safe. Please join our communities. That way we can stay in touch with you, and you can let us know what you think. Also, again, follow us. Follow our page, follow Lorianne. Make sure to please, again, if you have value in this, you can follow me. Donnie, why don't you show them the little video on how easy it is to go in and follow somebody? Because some people seem to have a difficult time with this. So if you do, I can't when you're remote. Okay. Well, we learned something else.
On to delegation.
All right, so on to delegation. All right, we'll move on. We'll move on. Maybe Donnie will put it in right at the end. We're trying new things, but I like my secret studio.
It is very cute too.
Right?
Yeah.
Hey, for an extra Halloween piece of candy, Jeremy, can you name that movie?
Big Lebowski.
I knew I liked you. I knew I liked you. When someone's like, "Who is that?" I'm like, "We are so not friends." Yeah.
I'm glad that wasn't my quiz to be on the show.
Yeah, well, I don't want us to not be friends, so I purposely don't ask you questions like that. So, Jeremy,
like
all right. So
me.
let's talk about delegation. All right.
Okay.
So in an organization,
because
what's that?
delegation can be hard for people.
Yes.
This is one of the things that I know, like from my days of, when I was, coaching a lot of high level leaders, is that it's almost like, like we get this job out of high school and we're doing this job, and then you get a promotion, and like nobody ever teaches people how to delegate to their team. It's like now you're leading a group of people, but you're still like, I'm still going to do all these things because, I mean, you kind of said it earlier. You didn't want to give it on to your team. You're carrying a lot of the burden. So
Right.
yeah, let's talk a little bit more about the art of delegation.
Plus, if you can do it and it's something you're good at, you know you're going to get it done, and you trust yourself, and sometimes you're not sure how much weight the team is already carrying, and you don't want to put too much burden or make your team burn out, right?
Well, yeah.
So
But at what point do you teach them? Do you take the time? Because whenever you're teaching, a new skill to your team, I mean, it does take time. I mean, but at what point do you say, like, okay, I'm willing to put in this extra time, knowing it's going to save me and also the team in the long run, and it's also really good for company engagement.
True. Yeah. Agreed. Yeah, it's definitely something I struggle with, but in the past I have just had conversations with people, especially if I know it's something that's up their alley in terms of their skill set. I try and get a read on what their workload is, and if we can fit this into the workflow, I'll ask them to take it on, but I don't do that enough, probably.
I was just going to say, should we turn this into a coaching session?
Yeah. Maybe we're all just going to sit here and coach ourselves. But one of the things that I have found is the importance of getting a couple cheerleaders and some flag carriers. You are not able to influence everyone alone, right? Because these little silos happen no matter what. You're going to have little segues of groups, and they're going to kind of rally around. And if you're not careful, you can get some mutiny happening. And so you have to have flag carriers, and there has to be people that are in your top line, and those are the ones that you work with that help really challenge you, right? You give them permission because you need that check and balance wall. Right. So you've given them permission to challenge you, right? And so how do you build them up? How do you continue to get them to carry that same flag, throughout the rest of the organization?
Right. Good call. I mean, there's definitely those people that can get involved on the strategy part of things, and you trust. There's certain people you really trust their thought and input on your team, and those are the ones that I think you want to recruit to be your flag carriers. So
I love it.
And because they hold influence on the rest of the team as well because of their knowledge and because of how they treat people. So, really everybody just wants to be treated with some respect. And I think if you do that and you help to figure out what their strengths are and put tasks in line with what their strengths are, you help them succeed, right? You try not to set people up for failure by overloading them with things that they're probably are not in their wheelhouse.
All right, so I think one last big one that I want to ask, and then I'll let Lorianne talk. Maybe if she showed up on time. Yeah, maybe if you showed up on time, Lorianne.
Showed up on time.
Yeah, no, I'm giving you a hard time. No, listen, I like Jeremy. Sorry, you introduced us, and I'm having fun. Okay, so yeah.
So go ahead, ask your question.
Okay, I will. So no, seriously, as what I'm thinking here is when you're looking at other young up and coming, young people, men and women that are entering into the workforce. They're really coming into a place where they can start really offering value. And again, I told you there's the big buzzword. The entrepreneur. Like, I'm all about side hustles. I think everybody should have one, personally. I think it's great. because number one, I think it keeps you out of trouble. Number two, it teaches you skills and you can make a little extra money. And that way, as an employer, myself, I don't have to be your only source of income. Like, I like that. Okay. I like the idea of side hustles. I promote that internally within our organization. By all means, if you have a small business or you have an idea or concept, do it, build it. Like, I love the idea. If we can help you, let us help you. Learn from what we're doing. If it interferes, we may have an issue, but just be open and honest about it, and we'll talk through it. As an entrepreneur, I like that. Again, I think it's a buzzword. You right now talk to those young people in their mid-20s and they're coming into their 30s and they're thinking that the only way for them to build, create, and really do something powerful is they have to do it on their own. I don't think that's the case. I know I did, but I think entrepreneurship is a powerful, powerful position if people understand it. So talk to them on what can they do and what is the advantages of what you've been able to do in the internal aspect of being, I mean, you have an entrepreneurial role. You do. You're building and you're creating. You're just doing it internally. Talk to them about that. What can they do to start growing in their organization and to become better in themselves and for the organizations they work for?
Yeah, great question. So yeah, I mean, entrepreneurship is sexy, but it's not for everybody, right? Putting all the risk on your shoulders is something that it definitely isn't for everybody. It's listen to Gary Vaynerchuk's talk on that, and also you can check out the book The E-Myth Revisited, which talks about entrepreneurship as what the E-Myth is and how everyone thinks it's sexy, and it breaks down why it potentially isn't for everybody. But in terms of being an intrapreneur, being able to grow within a company and build value there, we hit on some of the things previously, but just figure out, know your role, but also have a vision for what else is available in terms of the company. What does your business do? What's your specific role? Is there anything you can do to help build more value for the company? Are there process efficiencies that you can help do? And just sitting there and I think talking trash about the current situation and how the maybe the processes or some of your colleagues, there's a lot of people that just like to talk trash about things, but don't come with any kind of solution. So if you're going to downplay something that maybe isn't working, because every organization can make improvements, but if you're going to come and talk negatively about how things are not working, maybe have a couple of potential solutions that might be able to fix the problem, and not just fix it for you, but also make everybody's job a little bit easier. So I would say those are some things you can focus on. It's really just finding out how you can build value for the organization. And another cliche that I'm not against is the rising tide floats all ships, right? You help others succeed, you figure out how to make things, overall run smoother. You're gonna, people are gonna take notice, and you're gonna work your way up through the ranks.
I completely
love it.
agree with those.
It sounds like somebody's on a tricycle, and they're like trying to slowly pass your office.
I don't know what.
And then they're like, as soon as you're done talking, they're like, they're like trying to hurry up and get past.
I don't know what they're building up there, but I probably should have, went and made sure they were quiet for the.
It's all good. We had a live here the other day, and I had somebody decide to take a weed whacker and come up to the window, and I'm like,
nice. Yeah. Next
time
and
I'm like, really? Right now? And I had to go. I told Donnie, I was like, I'll be right back. And I ran outside. I was like, get away. I'm on the computer. I'm on the internet. Anyways, listen, Jeremy, awesome. Very, very good words of wisdom. Thank you so much for sharing those with everybody. And I thought you were a great sport and a wonderful guest. I really do appreciate having you here. Lorianne, I'm going to give you the opportunity here to have a few, some final words with Jeremy and see.
Minutes?
Yeah, maybe a few seconds. We'll see. I'll count them down.
Okay, thanks. I love it. I love the advice that you just gave, Jeremy, because I do think that being, having solutions, being a problem solver, but also, just being very observant around, not only in your organization, but also in your industry or even in neighboring industries to see like, like what's going on outside of our organization. What are some of the trends that are happening, so that it just really helps you within, to have your intrapreneurship like within an organization. But I also think, it's just like, it's knowing yourself, knowing your skills, knowing like, what are you good at and what are you really interested in, instead of having a boss say, but this is what I need you to do.
Right.
Especially when there are other skills that I would like to develop, I would like to investigate.
True. Good point. Yeah. And, that's one thing maybe we didn't talk about is working on yourself, right? If you don't understand your own, where your strengths and your weaknesses are, and you don't work on your weaknesses, it's hard to grow, there too. You have to really respect and, focus on yourself as well as, others in the organization. Because if you're only focused externally, you're probably not getting enough sleep. You're probably not, getting the right nutrition. You're going to have brain fog. You're not going to be that effective. So you definitely have to work on yourself as well.
Yeah, I agree. I was just going to say yoga.
The one. That's the struggle. That's the one I got. That's the one I got. I'm like, I'm trying, kind of, but not really. One of the things I've learned, I've learned recently is, you will do what you need to do, no matter like you have time or not, like where you find your value. And so a lot of times it's tough. I'm there as well. When someone says I don't have time, it's like, no, you don't have value for it. Let's be honest. You don't have value for it, because if I was diagnosed with something terrible and that required me to have a particular diet, and all of a sudden I had to make a certain scheduled time for myself, whether it be working out or nutrition or seeing a doctor, guess what? I all of a sudden have time for it.
Yeah, true.
Right? The thing you need the most.
The thing I need. So it's about value. And I think that's what we really need to be. I just personally think as leaders, I think we need to be more honest with ourselves on that. Is we have not put it into the value of where it needs to be. And that's really what it comes down to, because I think we're always going to have to shift around. And there's going to be times we have to work really hard, and there's times we may not be able to have the best diet on the planet, but then there's times we can. And you talked about your bank. I think that goes with everything. That goes emotionally, spiritually, in your body, that goes in your finances. It's like you always want to build and store up as much as we can, right? Because you're not always going to have a feast. Sometimes there's famine, right? And you gotta be ready for it. So anyways, Jeremy, awesome, man. Loved having you here.
Thanks,
Thank you
Jeremy.
so much.
Thank you very much for having me.
I appreciate it. So hold tight. We're going to pull you off real quick. Donnie, go ahead. But I want to let everybody know we are really, really happy that you guys are here for another episode. Hey, whoa, bring Lorianne back. Yeah. Donnie, you can have a conversation with him after, Lorianne. Listen, we are grateful that you're here. We have just a ton of great shows lined up for the rest of the year, and we're excited about that. If you want to know more about Jeremy Bergh and just kind of following him, by all means, we will drop his information within the chat if you haven't already seen it in the event itself. But by all means, connect with him. Let him know what your thoughts are. If you like this program, if you like the value we bring you, again, we ask that you continue to do so by following, by sharing, by letting other people know. And join us next week. We have a lot of great stuff coming up. We're excited about it. And we have a lot of great news coming up. Both Lorianne and I have some cool things we're going to be filling you guys in on. But anyways, that is it from my secret headquarters. Lorianne, are you good?
Yes, I'm good. And I'm excited for next week's show.
Yeah, it's going to be cool.
Is Terry.
Yep, Terry Rice.
Rice.
Terry Rice.
Yes.
So really pumped about that.
Definitely want to be here.
Yep, you guys definitely want to see it, and you don't want to miss it. So anyways, thank you very much. We'll be here again next Thursday, 1 p.m. Central Time. God bless, be safe, and we will talk to you later. Donnie, get us out.